Fans have been obsessed with George Pickens on social media. In the offseason, they hated on Jaquan Brisker and the positional value of a safety. Then, after Kyler Gordon's early season struggles, they turned on him instead. Why? Because for some reason, there is a portion of our fan base that is obsessed with George Pickens. He was my draft day crush and a guy I wanted the Bears to select. So today I'm going to answer the question once and for all, should the Bears have drafted George Pickens? The answer is no. Plain and simple. Pickens doesn't seem like he has the personality of a guy that you want in the locker room when you are laying the foundation and getting guys to buy in. After the foundation is laid, it's a little different if you bring in a guy like that. I recently have said George Pickens was a head case. I wanted to correct this statement a bit because I want people to understand I like George Pickens a lot. Anyone who has followed me since I started this channel 6 months ago knows I said repeatedly he was my favorite wide receiver in the second round area. I spoke about him in more than 15 videos before the draft. I also liked Alec Pierce a lot. Seeing Pickens blow up on the sideline and throw tantrums the first few weeks of the season are something I simply don't think would fly with this coaching staff. I love Pickens' talent, but I spent most of the offseason watching tape on wide receivers and offensive line. I admittedly hadn't studied enough of Brisker or Gordon. After watching tape on those dudes, I was so hyped. I think both players will be staples in our secondary for a long time. I hyped both of them up in the offseason, and I immediately forgot about George Pickens. I believe fans will come to love both of them, and we will have our own version of a Legion of the Boom killer secondary. I think Kendall Vildor's development and Eddie Jackson's bounce back only makes our secondary potentially more dangerous soon. I would not have been mad if we took George Pickens or Alec Pierce. I probably would have gotten their jerseys immediately. Justin Fields does need wide receivers, but people act like we had to get them this year or that Pickens and Pierce are the last wide receivers to ever come out in the draft and have success. Quick note now, Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker both have the same amount of one-handed interceptions as George Pickens does touchdowns. Not to mention next year's wide receiver class looks even better, and we have a first round pick. I would advise fans who are mad about missing out on George Pickens to check out Quentin Johnson from TCU, Jordan Addison from USC, Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State, who has liked posts and posted prayer emojis when teams linked him to the Chicago Bears, and his former quarterback Justin Fields. JSN is someone to keep an eye on for sure. I am sure Fields would love to add his former teammate. My main point in this video is I don't dislike George Pickens. I apologize for calling him a head case. That's a weird statement that I didn't put much thought into, and normally I put a lot more thought into my comments, but he is a guy who potentially could cause a lot of distractions or not fit in, and that is what I meant by that. Ryan Poles had to be careful. When laying a foundation, you have to bring in players that buy in. There is legitimate concern on whether or not Pickens is that kind of guy. That being said, I'm a big fan of his, and I have him on some fantasy football teams, and I think he's going to have a great career. I just think we should stop hating on Kyler Gordon just because Pickens and Pierce have played pretty well. I have been a Bears fan my entire life. I don't remember fans ever obsessing this much over a player we didn't pick. Fans are talking more about George Pickens this year than they did about Watson or Mahomes in 2017. That's legit weird. Some of these dudes are tweeting about Pickens 50 times a day. On top of that, every single time Pickens does something, some random weirdo out there will tag me and ask me if I realized I was wrong on Pickens yet. What? Comments like that make me scratch my head and facepalm so hard. Look, guys, if you want to call me out on something, at the very least do a couple of minutes of research first. You don't even have to watch my videos. You could have just scrolled through the titles and taken 30 seconds and figured out how big of a George Pickens fan I was. He was on the cover of my draft day crush video. Him and Alec Pierce were my favorite second-round wide receiver prospects. I want to point out a couple of things to the people who think Pickens would have the same numbers here as he does in Pittsburgh. First off, he's been facing the third or fourth best corner on opposing teams for the most part, and the Steelers throw the ball 50 times a game. Yet even after 7 games, he has the same amount of TDs as Velus Jones Jr., just one. I think Pickens would help our passing game slightly, but he wouldn't magically fix our offense. He hasn't even fixed the Steelers' offense that also has Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Calvin Austin, and Pat Freiermuth. They are still only the 24th ranked passing offense in the league. And by the way, after Monday night's game, our offense has now passed the Steelers and is a more efficient and higher ranked offense. So how about that one, guys? They also throw the ball 30 more times a game than we do, but only get 80 extra yards passing and don't come anywhere near us in the rushing category. Bottom line, I think George Pickens is a great player, but I don't think he's better than the guys we can get in the first round next year, or even guys in the second round area who could offer the same kind of upside or much more. I also think our wide receiver room would be a lot better if Byron Pringle, N'Keal Harry, and other guys had stayed healthy all year long. It's okay to wish we got George Pickens. It doesn't mean you also have to dislike Kyler Gordon or Jaquan Brisker, who I think will both be great players. I have a lot of confidence in both, especially after seeing them both show out with one-handed interceptions last night. It's time to realize how much potential both of these players have. Let George Pickens go. He's not a Chicago Bear, and he isn't going to be. Period. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate everybody who tunes in. Please hit that like button for me. And until next time, bear down.
For like when I was playing basketball or something, it felt like that. So, I went up, grabbed it. I came down with one hand and then tried to jump over to the running back. He ended up tackling me. So.
You guys prep all week for him, and then you knock him out of the game basically with that play. How did that feel for you?
It felt good, but we also had to, get ready for the other quarterback. We prepared for both, so we didn't know which one we was going to get, especially because they didn't put it out in the scout, in the injury report. So we prepared for both, and, we just, played our type of defense today.
To have the turnovers just roll up like that, I mean, how good did that feel? What went into that?
It felt great, just a lot of swagger, but what really went into it was just a lot of focus, just capitalizing on turnovers, because earlier, in the season, we weren't really capitalizing on our caused fumbles, and especially during special teams, so we just had to capitalize on our turnovers today.
First win at New England franchise. How big is this for your team?
Very big, just giving us a lot of confidence, it's going to keep us together, and we're going to keep rolling.